Welcome back to the Dragon Talk live recording. That was a lot longer of a break than we had anticipated. I apologize for that.
I'm glad I used the restroom.
You can blame all of the me. We are going to get right into the interview and pretend that we already did the intro recording. How does that sound for all of you people on the Twitches? So yes, we have called up these amazing folks. We have Lysa Chen and Alan Patrick. Hello.
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 You guys are admins for the D&D Adventurers League.
It's true.
It is true. So, I mean, I guess we've been doing, this is like the third one of our, like, inside with the admins.
Inside the Adventurers League.
So you are fifth and sixth in that placing. And so,
hey,
yeah.
At least we placed.
You placed, exactly, right? You're in the money. Lysa, why don't you give us kind of for people who, if people haven't listened to the previous ones, what is the D&D Adventurers League?
And what is an admin?
And what is an admin? Yes.
The D&D Adventurers League is Wizards of the Coast's official play campaign for Dungeons and Dragons. You can create a character using Adventurers League rules, play in any of the hardcover adventures and some modules especially written for Adventurers League, and then bring that character to games in your living room or your friendly local game store or a convention, and just use our log sheets to keep track of all of the rewards and all the cool things that happen to your character. It is super duper fun. And the administrators are, I guess, the people who make that happen. And community administrators in particular, we help make it happen. And then we also help talk about it.
That's cool.
That's a good way to say it.
Yes, we do all the Twitter and Facebook, email, website, all of that stuff. And then we spend a whole lot of time getting out to local events and, national events and stuff as well.
Sweet. And so as the community themed admins, you talk to all the others. So you talk to Claire and Travis and Bill and Mark. Greg Marks. No, his name is Greg.
You're still mad that
I'm still mad that there's another Greg, so I'm going to always refer to him as Marks. Right.
Hey,
so you guys meet up and talk quite often, and then you are the ones that kind of filter it out to the community at large. Is that basically it?
A lot of it. We deal with a lot of the inbound requests as well. So the community reaching out and talking, to us or trying to interface with each other. We help facilitate those communications. It's a big weird place out there, and we love every minute of it.
Are you talking about the internet at large?
Yes.
It does get weird. It totally does.
Yeah, we're in our element. I'll just put it right out there.
So Lysa, you've been on a bunch in the last 6 months or so. I feel like we've talked to you twice already.
This is appearance number 3. I'm wondering, is there someone, aside from people on Wizards of the Coast staff, what's the most number of times someone has been on Dragon Talk?
Huh.
That's a good question. I think Wolfgang Bauer has been on 3 times as well.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
4?
I'm coming for you,
More.
Wolfgang.
Yeah. Do it.
Oh, no! Well, I've got to work hard, but I want that title.
We got to get a 5-timers jacket and everything,
like
SNL.
I feel there does need to be some kind of award.
There does need to be an award. I think
3 too. 3 should get an award.
Well, crap.
Different levels.
I don't have an award to give to Lysa. Here you go is my phone. You can have my cell phone. That's the award.
You can talk to Greg Tito's kids.
You can talk to my kids. That's right.
Yay!
That's so entertaining and fun.
It is.
They call me in meetings now because we have one of those Alexa Spot things. So they'll be like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll accept that call. And I'm like, hey guys, look, we're in this meeting with my kids now. It's awesome, fun.
Daddy.
So that's awesome. So we know a little bit more about your history, Lysa, than we do Alan. So I'm going to talk to Alan and be like, when did you start Dungeons and Dragons play in your life? What is your D&D origin story?
My origin story. That's it's a good way to put it. It was a long time ago.
In a galaxy pretty close.
It was many years ago. I was in middle school, and it was one of those things where I grew up in a very rural area. D&D books weren't really positively received, so I had to sneak it into my bag and sneak it out at night. I spent a lot of time with that second edition player's handbook, and I still have 3 of them on my shelf. It's fantastic.
The same copy?
No, my original copy, I loaned it to somebody, and at that point, like, the covers had fallen off, and it had been rebuilt with duct tape and new cardboard and all sorts of stuff. So I'm just going to assume it's in a better place, but I haven't placed it. I got into DMing early because a bunch of my friends thought the whole idea was really cool, but they were really intimidated, and I didn't know any better, so I dived right in.
That makes sense. Well, so you were in middle school. When? What kind of era of D&D was that? Was that firmly second edition? Is that what you were talking about?
It was basically shortly after the release of AD&D second edition. So.
Okay.
It's been a little while. I happened to get very, very lucky and got a bunch of Ravenloft products for very cheap, and that comes across in a lot of my current work. I spend a lot of time with the dark places.
You're into the occult, as it were, which is exactly what your the people who didn't want you playing Dungeons and Dragons were worried.
They were afraid of.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I got to live up to the expectation.
So did somebody introduce you to D&D, or did you see it in a store, or did you hear about it?
Who did this to me, indeed? One of my friends in school had the book out on his desk, and I saw the cover art. It was very bold. But I saw the cover art, the cavalier on the horse running through the canyon, and it was immediately taken with it. And I looked at him and said, "Chris, what are you doing with this thing? It looks really cool. What is it?" And he looked at me and he said, "I bought this. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Here, you take it."
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I found out later it's because his parents had threatened to ground him if he brought it home. But
It's like The Ring.
He was looking for.
Get it out of here.
You pulled your hair down in front. That makes perfect sense. That's super cool. So you said you've always been more of a dungeon master.
Yeah.
So you started in the Ravenloft kind of realm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got a big pile of Ravenloft stuff early on. For a long time, all I had was the player's handbook and the DMG, and my first like campaign stuff. No Greyhawk, no Forgotten Realms. It was straight to Ravenloft, and I really enjoyed it for what it presented. It was a bunch of different, very very different domains, and each one had its own theme and feel. So I could run a couple of short games over here, and then, without rolling up new characters, or maybe rolling up new characters, we could go have a completely different theme of game just by making a short trek across the Indiana Jones map with we have the animated red line and call it a day.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
But we got to explore a whole lot of stuff very, very quickly, and it's short attention span theater sometimes. I'm good with that.
Totally.
Try to fire as many images and things at them as people can to hold their attention.
So
Yes.
how did you two get involved with the D&D Adventurers League?
Okay.
Who did this to you?
Well, let's throw it to Lysa since you've been talking.
I'm sure, Lisa, we've asked you this, but I'm an old lady with short-term memory issues.
Before I talk about me, I do want to say, true to his Ravenloft origin story, Alan, if you guys don't know, has a reputation for being the admin who writes really, really terrifying adventures.
Oh.
One of which
I did
I've had the
not.
pleasure of playing, and there's like one point, it's not a huge spoiler, where there's like a big thrumping, like a thumping noise, and my DM like banged on the table
boom,
suddenly,
boom, boom.
and I was at a convention and I screamed and fell out of my chair, and everyone turned and looked at me.
I didn't know.
To go with it, I was at an event in Atlanta this past weekend, and one of the players was telling another player about this adventure that he went on, and it was very memorable, and whoever wrote it was just, oh, he's a sadist and that guy, I don't even know who it was, we're just going to call him the Butcher. I was standing behind him at the time.
When do you ever get to do that? When do you ever get to be like,
by the way, that was me who was the butcher.
And we chit-chatted. It was a very nice conversation, and at the end of it, he realized who I was, and he admitted that he had a hard time putting together that there's this guy smiling, talking to me, being very nice and polite, and he wrote a thing that may have scarred me emotionally.
It's always the nice ones, the really super, like, sweet, kind, soft-spoken, like Adam Lee.
Yeah.
He is dark.
He goes dark.
But he's so sweet.
He's
and
so nice,
He's like
right?
little yoga man and just like...
Stephen King is a very like warm, fuzzy, like just want to give him a bear hug.
Do you suppose that if you didn't have this outlet, We would not be saying it's always the nice ones.
He might still be known as the Butcher, but for different
Right?
Right.
I don't want to go there.
That's weird. Like, why? What
You work it out.
Is it just like,
Yeah.
are you, is this the stuff that you like playing and reading and watching as well? Or is this stuff that really does terrify you and this is your way to reconcile those feelings? Let's get therapeutic here.
Let's get therapeutic. Yeah, thriller stuff, man. That's my bread and butter. If it makes you think and you get into it and you can kind of feel what all the other characters are feeling, that's my bread and butter. And that's really what I want to get out of a game as a DM and as an author, and really what I hope people want to get out as a player. Because I know those are the things I go for with TV shows and movies and all that sort of stuff. It's not gore. It's not big jumpy scares.
Right.
It's atmospheric. There's nothing like setting a good atmosphere, because that'll define your whole gaming experience.
Yes.
So, hello, kitty.
Oh, kitty.
That was a good kitty wipe as a transition
cat
there.
butt go by.
So a lot of D&D kind of things does go into horror or things that are suspenseful or scary, and that's the atmosphere that you want to have in your game, but it's not necessarily the atmosphere you want to have in your community. So how is it like?
Good segue.
How do you reconcile those two?
Yeah, that was good.
I'm a professional.
Thank you.
Oh, you're such a pretty kitty. The kitty tosses are getting less and less gentle. Oh, shit.
Yeah, you're like, get down.
It's a cat.
It's like me yelling at my kids.
Yeah,
Right.
First time it was cute.
Yeah.
Second time, call your mother.
So yeah, Lisa, what do you guys do for the community to make sure that everybody feels like they can come to you if they have problems or things like that?
Yeah, I think that is just generally, like, Alan and I are basically interacting with the community every day through Twitter and through Facebook, trying to answer as many questions as we can, although on Facebook especially, the community is really great at kind of jumping in on those frequently asked questions. And we just try to, when we interact with people, set a really friendly, helpful tone. We're the examples people are looking up to. If someone answers something in a less than friendly way, we just kind of gently remind them that we want the community to be really inclusive and welcoming, especially to people who are really new. And we just sort of, okay, cat.
Oh, kitty.
Well, right, and because
That cat has a message for you.
it is.
And we just sort
Pet
of
me,
set that
pet
tone.
me,
I don't even remember what I was going to say.
love
That
me.
cat
really
is clearly a
aggressive.
quest giver.
If you can pet and talk at the same time.
That cat is really cute.
Yeah, she's pretty cute.
Oh yeah, sorry, they can't see. No, there is a cat that we can see who is in the camera. Thank you for that, Ryan.
And it's a super cute kid.
It is a very cute kitty.
Aww.
Because Lisa, you being yourself a new player, you must have an affinity to people who are coming into this community kind of brand new, right?
Yeah, I remember when I started my Adventurers League night, October 2016, I was really new, and I used the community as a font of information, especially the Facebook group, which is really active, just to get advice on starting a new night. I also would reach out to lots of local people in the community for advice on putting events together. And then when I wanted to run my first epic at a store, the reason that was able to happen was because I posted on Facebook, I have no idea how to make this happen, but I really, really want it to happen. What do I do? And the community gave me a lot of advice, and then eventually hooked me up with Bill Benham's email, and he helped me make that event possible. And I wouldn't be here talking to you guys today if none of that had happened. So
Right. So it's
he's
like
awesome.
you're paying it forward now by being that person for when people come in and want to learn more.
Yeah. And something I'm hoping on working on, since I've found just talking to people in the community and meeting people has been so awesome. I've started kind of behind the scenes now, chatting with different members of the community, either community organizers or dungeon masters, just event organizers in general, and getting their advice on how to run just a weekly night at a store, how to run at conventions, to kind of facilitate the spreading of that information and that knowledge that everybody has.
Cool beans.
So what are your tips for that? for running
well,
a weekly event?
Let's see. So for a weekly event, I actually spoke with oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on it. Patrina in Singapore, who just started like a really robust community there. And to start out at a store that's not running Adventurers League, they will put together an event just for people who've never played D&D before. They advertise it a bunch because there's a bunch of people who are really interested but really nervous because it seems like kind of like a big leap to try it the first time.
Yeah.
And they will run exclusively really short content. So the first module for each Adventurers League season will have 5 1-hour like mini adventures. And so a 1-hour adventure is a really good way to just give someone a taste of D&D, and it doesn't feel like a huge commitment, like you're signing up for, say, like a 4-hour event and you're not sure if you like the game or not. And so I thought was a really good tip.
Yeah,
that is cool
for stores to do that. A lot of conventions, like the PAXs, will do that sort of thing.
I like that's the first adventure for the seasons. If I'm going to take that taste analogy, it's kind of like a flight. It's like, here's several different tastes of different kinds of adventures that are all themed. They're all in the same kind of.
That actually sounds really good.
It sounds really tasty right now. I kind of want a flight of wines.
IPA flight.
Oh, see, I'm not an IPA person.
You're not a person then.
That's right.
Never takes long for gamers to start talking about beer. I'm okay with
it.
this.
Goes right into it.
Weird.
What's your familiar's name, Lisa?
This is Clara.
Hi, Clara.
She's aggressively cuddly, and if I stop petting her, she will bite me. So.
Oh, that makes sense.
Wow. Always?
Well, as long as you can cast spells through her, I guess she's okay.
Well, look at her cute little smiling kitty face.
That is a cute face, for sure.
That is a cute cat.
So, Alan, what's going on with the community, like, now-ish, that might be really fun and interesting to talk about? Yeah, what's the hot topic and not the vampire store in the mall?
Not the not the Hot Topic store.
The Ravenloft store?
The Ravenloft store.
We've been looking for ways to just boost the community interactivity, and when we were bringing Lisa on, she and I had actually been talking for a little while, and we did some midwinter stuff. I know you guys already covered that.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool way to get people to start banding together and really encourage them to talk amongst themselves and come up with more role play ideas, and that spiraled and almost got out of control, but coalesced into a little something that is called the Red War.
What is the Red War?
The Red War, it sounds very intimidating.
Yes, it does.
It does.
It is a completely player-driven event, pretty much out of the blue. A couple of players banded together. One guy put his name at the top of the letter, his character name, and then at the end he put his actual name and his DCI number. But he did this in-character declaration. He says, "We, the Emerald Enclave, and especially me, we're declaring war on the Thayans. The Red Wizards have taken over Mullmaster, and we don't agree with it, and they're just a big pile of jerks, so we're going to war, and that's what we're doing."
What?
And that,
back up a little bit, because I know there might be some listeners who are not unfamiliar with some of that. So what are the factions that, so people understand what the Emerald Enclave is? I mean, we've done Laurie should know segments on the Emerald Enclave, but what does it mean in the context of the D&D Adventurers League?
So in a very, very distilled, very boiled down description, the Emerald Enclave are your nature-themed, they're your characters who are most interested in nature, right? The power of nature, the might of nature, and the right of nature. They want to promote that above all else.
But the factions themselves within the groups, too. Maybe people don't realize how important they play into Adventurers League.
Yep, especially as you get into those higher level adventures, each of the factions brings its own unique flavor to those. Like Tier 3 and Tier 4, they'll have, there might be special sections inside those adventures that spotlight how the Zentarum might interact with a certain portion of this content, and how the Harpers might, and how the Emerald Enclave might, and so on. Because the higher your level, the more impactful, theoretically, the more impactful you are across the world, and the more well-known you might be. You're a big hero of Faerun, and live it up. You're doing big, important things.
Right. So in addition to creating your character with your class and race and background and things like that, over the course of play in the Adventurers League, you might affiliate yourself with the Harpers or the Zentarum, the Emerald Enclave, the Knights Alliance, Lord's Alliance.
The Lord's Alliance.
And I'm missing one. What's the fifth one?
The Order of the Gauntlet.
Order of the Gauntlet, right.
Yes.
So those are the 5. Did we introduce those in when 5th was announced, right? As being these are our factions that are out there. I'm looking to Shelley because she knows.
I remember. I do.
You do. We had the banners for them and
I
everything.
remember the banners.
Yeah.
Chris Tulak was really proud of those banners.
They're really cool banners. But yeah, I know some folks who might not be as into organized play, like that's one of the features of it is that there's stuff written within the adventures that are it's only really unlocked or talked about unless one or more of the players is a Harper or a member of the Black Network.
So do you have to join a faction? Can you
do
just
not.
kind of be a free agent?
You can be a free agent if you like. There's some extra bells and whistles, not necessarily hard rewards for being in a faction, but there are definitely some benefits. At low levels, your faction can help. They might provide you a free resurrection, free raise dead, and then as you progress throughout your career, there are other benefits just based on how involved you've been in the campaign. So they may offer to sell you a magic item here or there, or once you get to those higher levels, you may be their special agent, and they may have an assignment for you.
Right, so you built up this kind of construct of there being these political entities in the Forgotten Realms that the players have direct contact with, if not, having some ownership of what each faction does, right? So then enter the Red War.
Yeah, so we do have some NPC leaders, but the higher level characters they do have some influence, and these guys from the Emerald Enclave, Terry Tanner was the one who initially did it. Just put this letter together, all stylized, and it had some art and everything on there. It's pretty cool, and sent it to us and said, "Hey, we the undersigned are going to war against the Thayans, and we hope other people join us, but we're just committed to this course of action." And
it was all in character, right?
It was all in character, yeah. And that brought out a bunch of other people, and they very strongly played into the role play structure of each of their factions. So the Zentarum, the black network of spies and black marketeers, they had some really strong opinions both for and against this. The Lord's Alliance being an organization that is very economically minded, saying that as diplomatically as possible. They were not real thrilled that someone was going to go to war against an entity that is currently trying to rebuild a major port city. Because at this point, the port city is saying, you know what, we're just going to withdraw from all trade. And that's a crippling blow to the Lord's Alliance interest. And then you've got the Order of the Gauntlet, who wants to basically protect everybody, even if that means protecting them from themselves. So even they're a little bit split. So we're seeing some really cool interactions. And we're trying to foster that with the
Where is this all? Yeah, where? So maybe Lisa, you can talk where is this all playing out?
Oh, so it started with folks in just the main Adventurers League group, and
on Facebook?
Each of the factions on Facebook, yes. And each of the factions has started creating their own Facebook groups. There's some people who have story awards who are Lords of Mullmaster. They've created their own group. Some of them have taken it to Discord. And all of it is mostly just posts in character, role playing. Every once in a while, they'll have a little tag that says something's out of character. But they try to keep it in character, which is really cool. And recently they organized sort of their own little event called the Faction Summit. And so people from all different factions came together to kind of debate everything in character together. Wow. And I know sometimes people can say, especially at a convention, if it's a bunch of strangers coming together to play Adventurers League for a bunch of different reasons, it can be hard to really get into character and role play in that setting. And so it's been really cool seeing the community sort of blossom the second they got an outlet to do that.
That's really interesting.
And all community driven, all fan made groups.
You guys as the admins didn't start this, it just kind of spun up on its own.
Yeah, and that's something that we really want to continue to foster. Now, as we progress with this, we want to encourage more role-play interactions with it, and we are focused on our main group. So we have a DM group, and like Lisa said, we have the main Facebook group. We don't really step into those faction-centric Facebook groups or even the Discord servers. We may pop in there from time to time on request, but in those environments, we are merely players. We are not administrators. That is their playground. They are crafting all of this narrative and their own reality for here, and man, it's been really cool to see all this development going on from the players.
Yeah, I mean, it gets at that meta thing that I love about organized play so much, where it's, I mean, I think, I forget, I think it might have been Claire who said this, where like we want Adventurers League to feel like it is, you know, a one big D&D campaign that's played by thousands, you know, not tens of thousands of people. And this is one of those things that kind of drives that home, where it feels like, yeah, this is, you know, I mean, I played in a campaign where we get into role play email chains back and forth and stuff like that, and like, you know, it feels like it adds to the complexity of this, and this is basically that writ large on a public forum where everybody who wants to pay attention to it can pay attention to it and feel like they're affecting something. I think that's so fascinating.
Yes, I worked on MUDs and mushes for a long time.
Oh yeah,
and that was something that really kept me going back to like my two that I kept logging back into, because we'd have 40 or 50 players, and like our guilds, our factions defined our experience in the game.
For sure, and now that's happening right now. So, just one thing I want to make sure people, there are a couple. What is Mullmaster? In case people don't know.
Mullmaster is it's one of the major cities along the Moonsea. It is the city of danger. There's been a Thayan presence there to varying degrees, basically since the city's inception. They have a thing called the Arcane Edict, where arcane magic is, we'll just say, very seriously frowned upon unless you meet certain criteria. It is a hotbed of ne'er-do-wells and all sorts of illicit activity. Being as it's the major port on the Moonsea, there's a lot of opportunity for shipping things from the far north down through the Sea of Fallen Stars and beyond.
And so, all right, so the Moonsea is where a lot of Adventurers League stuff has been set in the past, correct?
Yes, that's our first couple of seasons were up there, and after season 4, we launched what's called the CCC program, the Convention Created Content Program. So we've moved a lot of our content out towards
that up a little bit.
We've moved our stuff out to the Sword Coast, but now conventions can actually design content inside the CCC program, and that means that everything in that general Moonsea area of the cities of Flan and Hallberg and Mullmaster for sure, they have a pretty open slate with what they can do, and we're seeing some really cool content come out. I'm really hoping to see people start putting together pitches for all the Red War stuff.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So it is a little bit like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm really interested to see where it goes. Like it feels like it's this evolution of something, but you know, it can also be terrifying too, to be like, well, you know, how do we respond to this? So I'm encouraged to see that you guys are talking about it and participating in it, and I can't wait to see what the next step is.
I love how it's encouraged the role playing aspect of it. You know, that's a good intro to the people who maybe are new, they're a little, you know, tentative about role playing. This is giving them a perfect outlet to just jump in there.
Yes, it's an easy on-ramp.
Especially, like, some people might be nervous about role playing at the table.
Yeah.
Because you're really, like, on the spot, and maybe you don't know people or how they're going to receive your role playing. But when you're online, you can kind of take your time to craft your response, make sure it's exactly what you would want your character to say. It's a little easier to try it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Are there, so I mean, you guys have handed out certs, which are certificates that can, you know, usually end up being benefits or boons to characters, right? And you mentioned what some of them are nominal, and they're the lords of, so the Mullmaster and other things too. And now, what I think that's really funny is that people are using those to be like, well, I'm a lord. A Mullmaster, right? So I'm going to start acting like a lord now. And they're like taking things that were, you know, I mean, everybody's played MMOs or something like that where you're like, I'm the lore master of so-and-so, and it's just a title, right? And now here it is. These titles are now, have consequences.
Oh, yeah.
I love seeing people who've, like, collected lots of different titles from all these different games and story awards. And when they introduce their characters in these interactions, they list every single one.
Oh, that's so great.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have a herald coming out and being like, you know, leader of the first men.
This is my page boy.
Yeah, that is cool.
It is so amazing.
It is.
So the community-wise, like, seems like they are latching on to, you know, the tools that are available to, like, you know, modern D&D players, which I think is fantastic.
Yes.
You mentioned the Discord servers. What are those, and you know, I mean, because I'm sure they're going to have listeners who are not really sure how to get involved in that kind of a thing.
Discord is it serves a couple of purposes, but for what we've been chatting about, it's primarily a voice chat server. So you can log in, you have your, you can log in as your character name and just chat back and forth with other people in that channel. And there are some folks who actually organize Theater of the Mind D&D games through Discord, and there are a lot of opportunities to get your D&D fix by using all sorts of online tools. Just Discord happens to be one of them.
Oh, so for some reason, I guess I really wasn't sure like Discord was a voice app. I thought it was like a chat app.
Yeah,
it's
it can
actually both.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So people who are role playing can play, basically have an RP session with them with their voice, but then they can also chat if they're not comfortable doing that kind of thing by typing.
Correct. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, like, as Lisa and I were talking about as she was coming on and joining the team, like, we want to sort of decentralize the whole D&D experience, right? I know I sit at a table because I love having that social experience, and now we have so many digital tools that allow us to duplicate that. Seeing people embrace things like Google Hangouts and Discord and even some of the elements of Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 and all that, that's victory. That's what I want to see.
That is cool. Yeah, and speaking of which, have you seen a lot of players adopting D&D Beyond for use at the table?
I saw a fair number of people actually at the event this weekend. It's still a growing tool, and overall, the fan response seems to be pretty positive.
I've been seeing a lot of it. I brought an iPad to the D&D Adventurers League event I went to, and there are a lot of people who had sheets printed out with that kind of thing too. So I think it's an easier in for people to just create a character and jump in.
Yes.
I forget if I raved about D&D Beyond last time I was on, but I've now transitioned to I solely use D&D Beyond when I'm DMing. I don't even crack open the hardcover book anymore. I'm running Tomb of Annihilation. And it's really helpful. There's quick links to different sections. I can just pull up monsters and different tabs from the DM side. It is great.
Oh, you're reading and thinking about it as far as the character creation thing. You're just as far as getting the information quickly?
I got it to DM my weekly Adventurers League night. But I've been lucky enough to be invited to some streams where I just needed to throw together a quick character. And so then I started using the character builder. And it's been really easy to do that, and you don't have to double check a million times that you've got everything. It just takes you through the steps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a point a couple of weeks ago where I was I gotta make a character. I think for one of the in-house games here at the office. And I had momentarily forgotten about D&D Beyond. I was like, oh crap, I gotta do this, and I gotta add up this, and wait, do I do which one? And then I was like, oh wait a second, and so I literally stopped that character and completely started whole hog on D&D Beyond, and I was like, oh, and I can use this at the Adventurers League thing that I'm going to the next week, and it was it was so simple.
Perfect.
I'm not even blowing smoke up what Adam Bradford and the Cursed team is doing. I've always been that digital player more than anything else. In 3.5, I had a spreadsheet that had all of my player stats on it, and were updated that way because
the early stages of D&D Beyond.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's be fair. In 3.5, we all had spreadsheets.
It was a game of spreadsheets.
Yep.
Yeah, my poor ranger who had 6 attacks and different modifiers based on what he was fighting against. I was like, I can't think about this anymore. Let's just.
It was so confusing.
Yeah, there was a lot of adding.
That's what I learned. D&D. I'm like, this is.
It's you needed a slide rule.
This is really hard. It's taking a really long time to make this character. I wasn't even making it.
Right.
It's taking a long time to watch somebody make my character. Are you
It's
done
they
yet?
didn't even know how to do it. Right.
No.
Yeah.
A
lot of
sorry. A lot of what?
No, go ahead.
No, you. Fine.
We're so polite.
So are you seeing a lot of new people coming into the community?
Holy cats, a ton. I think this month for the Facebook group, we've added 3,500 so far.
What?
Yeah.
3,500?
Yeah.
In a month?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You've added to the Facebook. What is that? What is the group up to now?
I think I can tell you if you give me a second. I think we're pushing 24,000.
Wow.
And that's a lot of where the faction organization was happening, or where it started, right?
Those new people.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a little closer to 3,000. We're at 23,300 members as of right now. We've got the DMs group, which has some people who are double registered and some people who are only in the DMs group, and I think that one's got another 12,000. So unique registrants, probably 1,000 different. But a lot of new people, and then of course there's all the folks who don't use Facebook and Google Plus and all that stuff. So new players who go with the kids who go with mom and dad to their local event, their local game store, seeing them go and check out the game for the first time. We had a couple of new players in Atlanta over the weekend, so that was a cool experience. Seeing all of that come down, and how they were just interacting with all this stuff that made me think about when it was new for me, and seeing their faces light up as they rolled that first crit. Aww. Or how they kind of squeeze and get real small when they've only got 2 hit points left and the DM's rolling the attack dice.
Yeah. You can't see me.
If you can't see me, you can't roll. You can't roll a crit if you can't see me.
I wish.
So what would you? I mean, it sounds like there's so many different ways to get into the D&D Adventurers League community. What would you suggest to someone who may be listening who wants to take that first step?
Honestly, I think the easiest way for people to become aware of what we do, Twitter and Facebook. Throw us a follow. Twitter and Facebook allow you to observe the action without necessarily getting super deeply involved. And then when they're a little more comfortable, they can start posting. We have a whole bunch of members who are, as Lysa said earlier, they're very communicative, and they'll help coach and guide just the same as we will. And we do our best to make sure that the coaching and guiding is what's happening.
Right.
And I'd say if you're willing, just jump in and play a game. D&D Adventurers League.org has links to the store and event locator on Wizard's site, where you can find where stores might have Adventurers League nights every week. And there's also a convention map if you want to look for a convention near you. And if you're well-versed in D&D and listening to this and like D&D, which I imagine you might be, and you feel passionately about spreading the hobby and getting new people rolling dice, I urge you to check out D&DAdventurersLeague.org, the various getting started sections that talk about how to start an Adventurers League night, because if you're totally new and you kind of just look up Wizards of the Coast, Adventurers League is there. It's the official campaign. A lot of new people get filtered through us, even if they then go on to play homebrew games. It's a really great way of bringing people on board.
That's cool. And Lysa, you've been doing a good job about reaching new and interesting people. You were just recently featured in a publication.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, the slant interview.
Yeah.
That one. Or
I love that interview.
That was really cool.
I think you converted the interviewer. I think she's like, I want to play now.
Coolest job title ever.
Yeah, the writer, so the Slant is an Asian American newsletter, and they interview different cool Asians, and I didn't tell them I wasn't.
You are cool.
So they interviewed me, which was a mind trip. That was cool. But
how'd they find you? I mean, other than how did they find you or hear of you? Or
so the editor-in-chief, who's the guy who interviewed me, Andrew, he actually plays Dungeons and Dragons, and he was looking at DM's Guild for different adventures to play, and I guess must have probably noticed me in the Guild Adepts bucket. Saw my name there. Chen is kind of a giveaway. And looked me up and looked at what I was doing. He says he's interested in talking to other Asian Americans playing D&D, and he might do a feature article on that. So cool. I am saying it on the internet, so it has to happen now.
Yeah.
It's out there.
I really hope he does that.
It's in your court, Andrew. Make it happen.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I saw that you're kind of going on tour here. You've got a lot of appearances coming up as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of admins go around to lots of different conventions. Mm-hmm. We're lucky enough to be invited as guests, and we bring some perks. We can run author-only adventures. There's an item fair called Phi Chan's Fantastical Fair, and there's a special version if you invite an admin as a guest. Yes. And I guess people, for whatever reason, like to meet us. So I put together my schedule so that I've made a lot of new friends on the interwebs recently, just from my involvement in the D&D community and through being involved in Adventurers League. So I'd love to meet people in person. I'm really shy, though, so if you see me and I don't approach you, you should come say hi to me.
I would not get that from you.
No.
Are you lying?
You're not shy on the internet. You're shy in person.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, thank
Internet armor, yes.
So thank you guys so much for being on and talking about everything D&D community. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. Alan, where can people find out about you and what you're doing, or perhaps follow you on the Twitters?
On the Twitters, I am at Wharfdiner for various reasons. I promise it involves chocolate. Or you can hit me up on Facebook. Find me through the Adventurers League group. Very, very soon, we'll be rolling out a shared calendar as well. So like Lysa mentioned, we have public appearances, and that will be shared with anyone who wants to add a Google Calendar to their own. They'll be able to see where we're at.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Lysa, where are people find more about you?
I personally am super active on Twitter, so you can find me at mercifulDM, MERCYFULDM. And then I also have a website, lysachen.com, that has all of my projects. Lysa is also spelled with a Y. Oh, and the D&D Adventurers League group on Facebook is super active, and on Twitter we are at DND_ADV League.
Awesome.
Yep.
Was that a little kid I heard in the background?
Or was that the cat?
It is. Yeah, no, that wasn't the cat. That was my son. He was trying to come upstairs into my office.
Nice. I had an image of that. Gosh, you remember that interview? Was it? I think it was just last year, where it was a guy who was doing like a CNN appearance, and his little girl comes out and she's like, and
the poor mom was like on her hands and knees trying to get that kid out.
I heard your little kid, and that's the image that popped in my brain. I was like, I bet that's what's happening.
Oh, that was so good.
He's a door and 2 baby gates away, and you still heard him. He's loud.
Wow.
For nothing else, people should join the D&D Adventurers League Facebook group, because there's a picture somewhere on there of Alan's son wearing a beholder hat, and it's really, really cute.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry we were not able to have video of Alan's beholder hat that he's wearing right now. For you guys,
I'll blow it out over Twitter once we're set.
That's the way to do it. So everybody, go follow
father-son beholder hats.
The father-son beholder hats. Absolutely.
Baby beholder.
Well, thank you guys so much for calling in. I love all the work you're doing. I'm fascinated by what's happening with the Red War and all that, and can't wait to hear more.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks for having us.
You guys are the best.
You.
Talk to you later.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Clara.
Cute kitty.
That is a cute kitty. All right, thank you so much, Twitch folks. You have been awesome. I've been seeing you chatting all about what's been happening in the groups. It looks like at least a few of you are already involved with the D&D Adventurers League and what's been going on. So thank you so much for popping into the chat and being a part of the craziness that was today's recording. Gosh, we had ups, we had downs.
Friday the 13th or something.
We had, villains come on. We had the heroes.
Yes.
We'll leave you to figure out which one is the heroes and the villains.
The elusive Ryan.
The elusive Ryan. You got to hear from his dulcet tones.
Unmixed dulcet tones.
Thank you guys. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. Mike Merles' show starts out. Mike Merles' Happy Fun Time Hour. God, I'm getting it wrong. I want to make sure I get it because I really loved that it was Happy Fun Time.
I think that sounds right.
Is that what we called it? Happy Fun. It's just Happy Fun.
Oh, Happy Fun.
Mike Merle's Happy Fun. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Time from this here channel. It will be going on strong. Then Mr. Bart Carroll has his D&Doodles. And then I'll be on...
D&Doodles?
Yeah. Where the cartoonists are going to be doing some stuff on the live.
Well, hopefully you let him come to work tomorrow, Greg Tito.
Not if there's puking. Not if there's puking. I'll do some silly D&D news, and then we're on for a Dice Camera Action at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. It's going to be badass. Do we know who the guests are? Are there any guests for that one?
Rachel Seeley and Ross O'Donovan.
That's what I thought. Yeah, okay. Rachel Seeley is coming back, and Ross O'Donovan returns. and he's reprising as someone who you thought was deceased, if I remember correctly. Yes, I don't know if you guys have been following what's happening with Dice Camera Action, but it is cray cray. Is the official term. They're all in their own little dimension of horror, which has been having lots of feels for all of the cast members. I think 3 of the 4 of them were drinking wine by the end of the episode, as the case may be, just to cope with what's happening.
Oh my goodness!
So I love it, and it's been great. Wumba is returning. A crew. Yeah, I see Scarlet Moth in there. Yes, many fears are had. I can't wait to see what happens next. So make sure you tune in for that. But we got a full slate of D&D programming leading up to it. When are you doing your show?
My show?
Yeah. You just nod?
Doing it right now. Shelly's nodding off.
All right. Well, I am going to let Shelly get out of here since she's been running on empty on fumes this whole time. No. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We'll be back.
Don't forget.
Oh, right. Rocks fall. Everybody dies.
Oh.